Okay, so section 2.3 is on linear functions and slopes, so it shouldn't be too hard. These first two definitions I'm not going to worry with. We're just going to talk about graphing lines in general, not regressions and scatter plots. All right, so the first thing is we need to be able to find the slope. So you have your slope formula, just the change in y over the change in x. So subtract your y's over subtract your x's. All right, so a couple of examples. If I ask you to find the slope between these 2 points, you are going to, if you need to label them x1, y1, x2, y2, you can, but it's like relative. If you wanted to call this x1, y1, you could. You just have to make sure that you subtract the y's over subtract the x's, and just keep the order the same. Alright, so negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. This becomes plus, so that's negative 1. So you get a slope of 6. For the next problem, you're going to subtract the y's over subtract the x's. And remember, the order is not important as long as you match from top to bottom. So on this one, I'm going to do negative 2 minus 5. And 4 minus negative 1. So I get negative 7 over 5. Alright, so remember that your possibilities for the slope of a line is that you could have positive slope, so it's rising left to right, negative slope, it's falling left to right, and zero slope is a horizontal line, and undefined slope is a vertical line. Alright, so then we have point slope form. So you use that when you know a point and a slope, or if you just know 2 points because you can find the slope. So here we have an example. They give us the slope, and they give us a point, so the x1, y1. So from the formula up here, we know that we're going to have y minus negative 5 equals 6 times x minus 2. If they only asked you for point slope form, or if they just generically said write the equation of a line, you could change this to plus and be done. But your directions say solve for y, or get slope intercept form. So we are going to distribute the 6 and subtract the 5 to the other side. And again, this is called slope intercept form. This is point slope. So depending on what you're asked for, make sure you know the difference. Alright, so another example, but here they give you 2 points. So this will let you practice finding slope and using point slope form. So pause, work this problem, and then play and see how you did. Alright, so first of all, to find the slope, I can subtract the y's over subtract the x's. And I'm going to get negative 5 over 1, so just negative 5. And pick a point. I choose this one because I can reach it. Plug in to your formula. So that's y minus negative 6, which is really plus 6, equals negative 5 times x minus negative 1, which is really plus 1. So again, if they ask you for point slope form, you're done. If they ask you for slope intercept, you've got to take the time to distribute and add that constant, or in this case, subtract the constant to the other side. Alright, so slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b, the first thing that you ever learned about the equation of a line. Remember that m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. To graph from slope intercept form, you plot the y-intercept, you find another point using the slope, and you connect them. Alright, so if I ask you to graph this line, we know that this is the slope. We know that this is the y-intercept. So on a graph, we are going to start at 1 on the y. We are going to rise 3 and run 5. You could also go down 3 and left 5. And then connect your points. I could use my line drawing tool, but this is like a picture, and so it won't show up, so I have to try to draw a line, and I'm not that awesome at it. Alright, so that's our line. Alright, so horizontal versus a vertical line. If you need something cute to remember to help you remember this, then there's this hoy bucks, hoy, however you want to say it. So this says a horizontal line has 0 slope and is y equal. So horizontal line, 0 slope, y equals. That's what hoy tells you. Bucks says a vertical line, undefined slope, x equals. So vertical line, undefined slope, x equals a number. Alright, so if I'm going to graph these for y equals -3, we go to -3 on the y-axis, and we think of a whole bunch of points that have that y value, and we know that they line up in a horizontal line. If we're thinking x equals -3, then we go to -3 on the x. We think of a whole bunch of points that have that as the x value, and we connect them, and they should all line up vertically, so we get a vertical line. Alright, so in every other math book that you've ever had, they taught you standard form, which looks like this. And so in this book we call it general form because we have it equal to 0. Standard form always had the rule that A had to be positive. General form doesn't have that rule. So the only rule is that you can't have A and B both be 0, because if so, there would be nothing there. So an example of how do you graph from general form. So there's 2 ways. The first way, especially if they're asking you to find the slope and the y-intercept, it's probably easiest for most of us if we just get y by itself and get slope-intercept form. So I'm going to move 3x and -12 to the other side. So they'll become -3x plus 12. Then we go through and divide everybody by that 6. And so now I know that -1/2 is my slope, 2 is my y-intercept, and I can use those to get my graph. So I can start at 2, down 1, right 2, or up 1, left 2. And I have my line. Alright, the other option is by plotting the intercepts. So we can say y is 0 and get an x, say x is 0, get a y. So I know my x and y intercepts, and then I can plot those and draw my line. Alright, so I'm going to move the 6 to the other side and have it in standard form instead of general form. The way that I teach this in Algebra 1 is we just make a little 0, 0 chart. So if x is 0, that means you're left with -2y equals 6, so y would be -3. So we have a y-intercept at -3. If y is 0, then you're left with 3x equals 6. So x equals 2, so that's our x-intercept. So on a graph, you're going to plot those 2 points. So x is 2, y is -3, and then you just connect those points to make your line. Now from this, you still know your y-intercept, and you can count your slope. Or you can look here, it's always going to be the number with the x over the number with the y, the opposite of the number with the y. Alright, so I believe that's it. This next slide is just a summary. These are all of the equations of the line. And then this is your assignment. So do that, take a picture of it, and you can email it to me, or you can upload it in the Google Classroom assignment. And I'll grade it and give you your points. If you have questions about anything, please send me an email. That's the best way for me to see it, is if you send me an email. And I'll be happy to help.